Imagine spending your hard-earned money, not on something life-changing, not even something mildly useful, but on an invention so bizarre, so utterly pointless, that it defied all logic. It wasn't a prank. It wasn't a joke. Someone actually believed this contraption could change the world. But instead, it became a cautionary tale of obsession, wasted potential, and blind faith in the wrong idea. What could drive a person to pay for something everyone else saw as absurd? And more importantly, what happened when that useless invention was finally revealed? Every great invention begins with a dreamer, someone who looks at the world and says, there has to be a better way. Our story begins with one such dreamer, a man who wasn't a genius, but who desperately wanted to be remembered as one. He lived an ordinary life, the kind that passed quietly, unnoticed. By day, he worked a job that drained him. By night, he filled notebooks with strange ideas, sketches of contraptions no one had asked for, devices no one needed. For him, invention wasn't about solving problems. It was about chasing recognition. He longed for that moment when the world would stop, point at his creation, and call him brilliant. The truth, however, was harsher. Most of his designs were unworkable at best, laughable at worst. But in his heart, he clung to the belief that one day, one idea would make him unforgettable. When that day finally came, it wasn't because he had stumbled onto something useful. Quite the opposite. His most brilliant creation would go down in history as one of the most useless inventions ever imagined. Yet someone, whether out of blind faith, desperation, or sheer curiosity, would actually pay for it. And that single transaction set in motion a story that no one could have predicted, a tale of misplaced hope, wasted money, and a question that still lingers. Why do we sometimes believe in things we know deep down can never work? Before we go deeper, tell me, would you have been one of those curious buyers? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story already has you hooked, hit like and subscribe right now, because what comes next will make you question how far people will go for a dream. The invention was unlike anything people had seen before. It wasn't sleek, it wasn't elegant, and it certainly wasn't practical. It looked more like a strange toy from a forgotten era than a device meant to improve anyone's life. Yet, when the inventor unveiled it, he did so with the pride of a man who believed he had finally cracked the code to success. At first, people laughed, the room filled with awkward chuckles and raised eyebrows. But then, something unexpected happened. Instead of being dismissed outright, a handful of people leaned in, curious. Curiosity, after all, is a powerful force, and in that moment, one person reached into their wallet and handed over real money for something that, deep down, they knew had no purpose. That single purchase lit a spark. If one person was willing to pay, surely others would too. The inventor began to promote his creation with unwavering confidence. He poured what little money he had into posters, pitches, and promises. Soon, whispers spread. Was this invention ridiculous or revolutionary? But the truth could not be hidden for long. The buyers quickly realized they had traded their hard-earned cash for nothing more than a useless object, a contraption that solved no problem, improved nothing, and left them with little more than embarrassment. Still, they couldn't admit it. To confess they'd been fooled was to admit they had bought into a lie, and so the cycle continued. People purchased out of curiosity, some out of pity, and others out of fear of missing out. The more it spread, the more absurd it became. A useless invention was now being treated like a mysterious treasure, simply because no one wanted to admit they'd been duped. But with every sale, the stakes grew higher. Skeptics began to ask sharper questions. Journalists took notice. Whispers of fraud and manipulation circled closer. What started as a quirky idea now teetered on the edge of scandal. The inventor, however, remained unfazed. He convinced himself that criticism was proof of his brilliance. After all, every great genius is mocked before being celebrated. right? Yet behind the bravado, cracks were beginning to show. The pressure to prove his invention mattered was mounting, and the truth was a ticking time bomb. The breaking point came when the invention was finally put to the test. Crowds gathered, cameras flashed, and the inventor stood tall, clutching the contraption that had stirred so much attention. This was the moment, the proof that his idea was more than a joke. His hands shook as he prepared to demonstrate, sweat beading across his brow. But then, nothing happened. The device sputtered, clanked, and stalled. The silence that followed was deafening. At first, people waited, thinking maybe they had missed something. But slowly, laughter spread through the crowd. Not amused laughter, but the cruel, biting kind that cuts straight to the bone. What was once shrouded in mystery had now been unmasked as exactly what skeptics had warned all along: utterly useless. The buyer, who had once proudly shown off the invention, now hid their face, ashamed of having fallen for the illusion. Journalists tore into the story, exposing the absurdity and fueling a firestorm of ridicule. The invention that was supposed to change the world had become a public humiliation, an unforgettable reminder of how easily hope can be twisted into disappointment. For the inventor, this was more than failure. It was the death of a dream he had clung to his entire life. In the aftermath of the failure, the invention faded into obscurity. What was once marketed as groundbreaking quickly became the punchline of late-night jokes and clickbait headlines. The buyers who had invested their money tried to forget, quietly, tucking away the useless object that now sat as a reminder of misplaced trust. Yet this story is about more than one man's folly. It reveals something unsettling about all of us. Why are we so easily drawn to promises of miracle gadgets, quick fixes, or revolutionary ideas? History is littered with useless inventions, from fad products that made millions before vanishing to bizarre contraptions no one remembers today. And maybe that's why someone actually paid for it. Not because they believed in the invention, but because they believed in the dream it represented. So the next time you see a product that seems too strange, too ridiculous, or too good to be true, ask yourself, is this a glimpse of genius? Or just another beautifully wrapped illusion? If this story made you think twice about what we choose to believe in, don't let it stop here. Watch more, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss another story that challenges the way we see the world.